welcome Mr. and Mrs. Aucoin to today's episode of Before Wealth Creation. There is wealth education, and I am so honored that we get to have these two special guests with us today who just authored a book, 10 Legacies of Wealth. And I have been through this book twice already, but I have the pleasure of just having them here to talk to everybody about their journey, their success, and some obstacles that they have ran across. Because as we know, journeys are not always smooth sailing, right? But before we do that, I need to give a proper introduction to Mr. and Mrs. Aucoin, who have been married over 50 years. You can read all their accolades in the book, but online as well. But they are successful entrepreneurs, have opened multiple businesses, have over a portfolio of over 40 real estate businesses, commercial properties and real estate properties. And they also have a heart to help people. Mrs. Aucoin has a health and wellness journey that she has been on. She has her master's in special education. And Mr. Aucoin, and by looking at him, you would never know this, but he's going to share his journey because he didn't start reading until the age of 30 with the help of his wife. And so we're going to hear all about it, but he has been named several accolades. And to name a few, Mr. Aucoin, you were named and recognized for your success in entrepreneurship from Charleston in South Carolina, Small Business Person of the Year, as well as one of the top 50 entrepreneurs in the United States. And not to mention, I didn't mention Mrs. Aucoin authored and published the Specific Learning Disabilities Resource Program Curriculum Guide, to name a few. And so because of time, we are going to stop there. But let me tell you, their portfolio goes on and on. But the number one thing is that they have always remained happy, healthy, kept their family first, their love for each other first. And more than anything, money was never we all need money to live in the world, but it wasn't at the center of their world. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mr. and Mrs. Aucoin. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
It is. Yeah. It is our honor. And, I just want you to know how we are so honored that you even asked us to be on your program. And I know how you are so passionate about helping people and helping them move ahead in life and overcome things. And so we're just thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I know a lot of your people that's listening in are out there. They've got a great idea that's helping the world, and they're truly passionate about it. And I don't want them to let any idiot talk them out of doing it, because the world needs what they're teaching and what they're doing. So, yeah, we're behind you all the way, kiddo.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you both. Let's start. Tell us a little bit about the journey. We're not going to give all of the book away because people need to go and get the book and read it. But you have some amazing, amazing stories in there. You got, Frank's laughter behind it all. You make the book fun, but it's super inspirational. Tell us a little bit about your story, starting back from when you met Mrs. Aucoin.
Yeah.
Or if you want to say meet Mr. Aucoin.
Oh no, I'd love to start this part. So I was home I was finishing up my master's, and my parents lived in Warner Robins, Georgia at the time. And I was home in the middle of the week, missing classes because my sister was having an operation. She had a tumor. And by the time I got home, the tumor had dissipated. It was very exciting. She was healed. I mean, she really was. And so,
so you had nothing to do.
So I had nothing to do. So I went to the mall. What does every young woman at that age, that time, and many decades ago, do to kill time? I went to the mall, which was not far from our home. And so I was walking around and went into a store that sells a lot of different things. One of them was pipe cleaners.
Well, not at first. You didn't come in there.
Well, that's what he thought. So I walked in I walked in and I heard this guy say, "Hey, Bobby, watch this." And that was Frank talking to the owner, because I knew who the owner was. And then all of a sudden, this guy, Frank, walks around and says, "Well, can I help you with anything today?" He pretended like he worked there. And so we started up a conversation, and we ended up going around the corner for a cup of coffee. And from there, the whole journey started. However, the part of that story I never told him, honestly, until about, a year later?
Maybe longer.
Or longer, was the fact that I was walking around the middle of the mall and I saw this cute, good-looking guy that looked just like Sonny Bono to me. Mustache, lots of black hair, bell bottoms on. And I watched him, and he went in that craft store. And I said, I think I need something in there. So I actually had followed him in there. But I never told him that part until a year or so later.
So let me tell you this side of the story now, okay? This is my side. I was in there talking to Bobby, and I was there because it's lunchtime, and I knew women went to the mall, and I was on hunt, right? So, and when she came in the door, I was in the store. She was walking down the hall, and I looked over and saw her, and her eyes and my eyes met. And just for a minute, I could read her mind. I knew she wanted to have my children. So,
Oh my goodness.
So I said, "Bobby, did you see that?" And I turned back around, and she was gone. And I looked, and I couldn't find her. And I went, "Well, damn." I thought I'd lost it forever. And then she walked back in the mall. And then that's when we met. And, back in that store. And she was buying pipe cleaners, right?
For projects.
And I thought, well, if she smokes a pipe, she can't be all bad. maybe she chews tobacco too. I don't know.
For you to know Mr. Aucoin, he's like this all the time. You must have had a fun marriage for 50 years.
It's not been dull.
No, we don't have a dull marriage, that's for sure.
That's
Take us to when you guys met and the college paper, and you first discovered Mr. Aucoin couldn't read. Tell us what went through your mind, because sometimes prejudging is a big thing that we have in society, and I just wanted to ask you about that.
Well, let me just preface it by saying I dropped out of school in the 6th grade. I wanted to leave sooner than that, but I didn't do it. But anyway, I had an eye motor problem, and no one knew it back then. What it was like. And one day the teacher said to me, "Frank Aucoin, you better study hard and get a grip on this and start working hard and pay attention so you can have a good life and a good job." And I said, "Listen, you live in the same damn trailer park I do.
Trailer park.
You live in the same trailer park I do. And I help you push your car off to start it in the morning, and you have a part-time job in the summer. So maybe education is not all there is to this thing. So I think I'm going to go find it." And I left school.
Wow. And you also said in your book, you said you learned to make the voices inside your head much louder than the mistaken voices around you.
Well, that's because I had an incredible mother. She was a mom with 8 children, and a single mom with 8 children. And she always said, "I don't know what's wrong. I don't know why you can't read." She said, "But one day you could be in the White House. You could write books. You could be a doctor, And that voice in my head was louder than all the voices on the outside.
Thank goodness.
And all everybody else is calling me retarded. But the hardest thing I ever did, and I didn't think Theresa knew, I had to tell her I couldn't read before we got married.
However,
so let her tell you that part of this thing.
Yeah. However, when we were dating, by the time this event happened with the paper I was writing, and I felt like I needed somebody to look over it. I always appreciate somebody looking for mistakes and all that kind of thing. Well, by the time that point in our relationship happened, we had been dating for a bit, and I knew, this man's very intelligent, right? So when I handed him the paper and asked him to review it, he kind of backed off. He didn't even want to touch the paper. And that's when, we had the discussion, and I came to the realization he really could not read.
Not a word.
And so that put me on the path of, well, I had noticed some weird things about his eye motor control, because he was literally, if you've heard the term shifty eyes before, you know, I can't even make my eyes do what his did. They would flutter back and forth, left and right and up and down. And they just, you know, they would just very poor motor control. So I had already noticed that. So I just quickly put 2 and 2 together. And I said, Frank, I think we can help you with, I think I can help you with that. And so that day we started doing exercises. We would use the newspaper, which was pretty cheap, which, number two pencil. And I had to do exercises with that. And every day he started working on it, because he really realized that if he got that under control, then he could focus and actually see the words to read the words. And so it was it was not overnight, but he really worked on it. And then as soon as he started getting a grip on that, I reviewed phonics with him. And
specifically what happened was she had me color in all the B's in that whole newspaper, and all the D's in that newspaper, and then all the P's in that newspaper.
Yeah,
and all
in
the
order, but they had to be in order, and he had to use a ruler to follow left to right.
And so I had to really focus. And once I got to where I could focus a little, then I could see more than one word, because before there was just a blur. I couldn't make out anything. So it strengthened my eye muscles using number 2 pencil and coloring in A's and B's and D's. You follow what I mean?
Or circling.
Right.
It drove me absolutely crazy.
And Mrs. Aucoin, you knew this because you had went into studying learning disability, specializing in it, right?
Right.
And what divine intervention was that? That actually
exactly
you
right.
turned your focus onto that.
Right. Yeah, I started out majoring in music, piano, but I very quickly changed it to education, and then I just knew I needed to do something more than just education, so I went into special education, and I'm glad I did. I loved it. You know, I did teach for about 8 years, and I did love it. It was great. Yeah, didn't pay much, but it was great.
Okay, now Mr. Aucoin falls deep in love with Mrs. Aucoin.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Not Mrs. Aucoin yet.
Yeah.
And
Listen.
he decides to pop the question, right?
Decide to what?
To pop the question.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
marry this girl. Tell us a little bit from that, you know, moving on. I heard about some nuptials, or you called them, I gotta see what you called them that you said. They weren't prenuptials, they were called something else. I got a stipulation?
Stipulations more.
I would.
A little bit about that.
Yeah.
I know, they were just
She had to agree on a few things, or we weren't going to get married.
Yeah.
Oh
Now you got to remember, I was 31 and she was 21.
Yeah.
So, and I had been working for like 15 years. So I had watched many marriages break up. I can't, there's only one marriage in my whole family. I think my grandmother and grandfather are the only people I know that stayed married for like 60 years or something, but everybody else had divorced many times. So I'd seen a lot of marriages break up, and I didn't want that. You know, I didn't want nothing to do with that. I knew what I did not want. So we had to agree on a few things. Once she told me, she made me wait a couple of months before she told me.
Yeah, I didn't answer him. And the interesting thing is, he said to me, he said, I don't want you to answer now. I want you to think about it. I said, I'm going to. I'm not going to answer you right now.
Well, I told her, I said, I got a question. I want to answer your question. And whatever the answer is the right answer. There's no right or wrong answer. Whatever it is right or wrong.
Yeah. If the answer is yes, it's the right answer. But if the answer is no, that's also the right answer. I mean, it was really interesting how he made me feel about that, because it gave me the space and the mind space and the emotional space to really come to my own conclusion without being pressured or thinking I was going to hurt him or anything like that.
You didn't have to wait that long, though. So when she finally said yes, I was a really happy guy. And then I said, well, I've got some things we need to talk about before we get married, or we can't do it. So that's when we started the discussion about here's what I would like to happen.
Oh my goodness. And you laid it down.
Yeah.
What was? Just give us an example of one of your stipulations or what you laid down.
Well, the first one was because we're from the South and we're normally pretty polite to people, especially to women. I had seen so many marriages break up because the other person had no respect for the other person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they would call them, "You bastard," "You son of a bitch," or "This is my old lady." I just couldn't stand that. So I told her, I said, "Listen, I'm going to make you a couple of promises here, and see if you can go along with them." I said, "I promise you that I promise you, I will never, under any conditions that you can imagine, ever say a curse word at you as long as we're married." I said, "I don't care what situation now. I may cuss around you a little, but they'll never be directed at you. Would that be okay with you?" She said, "I think so." I said, "Well, here's the other part of that. You can never, under any conditions you can ever imagine, ever direct a curse word in my direction. Can you do that?" And she said, "Well, I think so." And that was the first one.
Okay.
That's strange because my family, we didn't curse at each other in our family.
But
So,
you had a lot of divorces. Her mom was married like
yeah, my
4
mother was
times.
married several times, but it wasn't because of, it was other stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So she said she thinks that she could get on board with this.
Yeah,
And you
that
said,
was
all right, let's
easy.
get married.
Yeah,
You
she could
get
do that.
married, and let's fast forward to you guys are now married, living together. You have your you get hurt. Take us to that time when you got hurt falling off the roof, and
Yeah.
walk us through your mindset. What was going through your mind? Newly married, having to take care of your bride, and money was very, very scarce.
Oh, it was scary. As a matter of fact, I was cutting grass for a living, and I'd go out every morning with a lawnmower and cut people's grass. And, I might make $10 a lawn or something like that. And it was pretty sparse. And then the winter came and the grass stopped growing. I don't know why I didn't think of that. So now I'm out of work. And so I went to work in a car wash, washing cars and hardly making any money at all. And then I knew a guy, and he said, "Well, Frank, I need somebody to help me do a roofing job, put shingles on a roof." And it was a snowstorm that year in Georgia, sleet and ice and all that stuff. And so I was climbing up a 2-story building on a ladder, aluminum ladder, with shingles on both shoulders. And I'm not a big guy. I mean, if you look at me, I got a chest like a bird's instep. I'm not that strong, And so when I got to the top of the ladder, the wind was blowing and it was so cold. There was ice everywhere. My hand stuck to the ladder. And I don't know if you've ever had your hand stick to ice, getting ice cubes. I tried to shake them off and nothing worked. I'd spit on them and I couldn't get my hands off. And I did the dumbest thing anybody's ever done. I decided to jerk away from the ladder. And when I did, the ladder went backwards and I fell 2 stories and landed on the ground. And it knocked me out. And when I woke up, I saw people leaning all over me, wondering if I was dead. And I didn't know what happened. We had no insurance. It's freezing cold. We live in a mobile home with no heat in it. We have no food, no nothing. And I said, "Don't take me to the hospital. Take me home." So I went to home, and Teresa came there, and she was working, I think, part-time in an office and going to school. And I laid there for weeks without making any income. And I thought, what the hell have I done? I just got married. I promised this woman all this stuff. And, and I was fighting it. I had a street fight with myself. I look in the mirror and say, "Frank, if you're so smart and know all this stuff, and you don't even have $35 to pay a lot rent on a trailer, and you can't feed your wife, whatever you're doing is not working." And I don't know if you've ever thought about what you're doing is not working. That's not a fun feel. And especially for a guy, because we're supposed to go out and get the meat and bring it home.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm going to figure out how rich people get rich. And when I did, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. It took me a couple of weeks to do it. And I said, I'm going to figure out how rich people get rich. And when I did, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. It took me a couple of weeks to do it. And when I did, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. It took me a couple of weeks to do it. And when I did, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. It took me a couple of weeks to do it. And when I did, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. It took me a couple of weeks to do it. And when I did, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. It took me a couple of weeks to do it. And when I did, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. It took me a couple of weeks to do it. And when I did, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. It took me a couple of weeks to do it. And when I did, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. It took me a couple of weeks to do it. And when I did, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. It took me a couple of weeks to do it. And when I did, it was like a bolt of lightning struck me. But I told Teresa, I said, if I ever get out of this bed, I will never be the only income stream. I will never be the asset again, because I was going to work and bringing money in. That means I was the asset. The problem was when I wasn't working, my asset was broke. And I said, well, I'm gonna only work to set up assets that throw off income, and there's another asset that throws off income, and I'm gonna surround our family with these assets throwing off income in case something happens to me. Teresa will never have to marry anybody like me again. The assets will bear. And so all of our married life, I have no time, no patience, and no desire to build anything and spend time with somebody that doesn't have front end money and back end money. And I learned real quick how rich people got rich, and we'll go over some of that tonight. It was the biggest lesson that I've ever learned. And it's been an amazing journey. So that's how that.
I love it. And you know, one quote out of your book said, maybe this very book that you're holding in your hands, you're reading on your screen, or listening, like they're listening tonight on this podcast, will be your aha moment. So as we get into the meat and potatoes of wealth creation, I want to talk about just your overall mindset, both of you. Now you're here, you're creating. This actually amplified you to start your first entrepreneurial journey to business, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
That would be the bookstore.
Well, the first one I started is the month I dropped out of school.
Oh, that's right.
Way
long
back.
Before I knew him.
Long before. Yeah,
No.
that was in the late 50s, and I dropped out of school. I had no one to play with. I wasn't going to school every day, and so I loved to be with people. So I found a building that was empty, and I found out the owners. And I thought, well, I can start a teen club and have people come to this teen club on Friday and Saturday nights and charge like $1 for them to get in. So I told this guy, I said, listen, if you will let me use that building, I'm going to start a teen club, because there's like hundreds of teenagers on the streets doing nothing except causing trouble. And you can have all the chaperones you want as long as we can use your building, because all we want to do is get together and dance and maybe eat some popcorn and drink a Coke or something. And believe it or not, he agreed to that. So I started this teen club. And every weekend, you know, and it cost $1 to be a member, right? $1 when you came in every week. And I was making more money on the weekends than the teacher was making that told me I was stupid.
And should be an elevator operator.
And I should be an elevator operator or a dishwasher. And I was making more money sometimes in one weekend than she made all month. Back then, the average income of a teacher was like about $350 a month, believe it or not. When we got married, the average income in the United States was only $1,000 a month.
Wow.
In 1973. I mean, a new house, you know, would cost $3,000 or $4,000 back then, and a car would be a lot less. So, you know, that was my first venture, you know. Okay. And then when she taught me how to read, I thought, you know, I'm going to open a bookstore. Now, I still couldn't read very well. So I went and got a building for free for 3 months. It had no lights, no electricity, no water. I had no books. I had no shelves. I had no nothing. And I got through all of that, got the lumber, and I could go on hours for that story, how I got all that free. And we opened that store, and it stayed around 35 years, that company. And
wow.
it several $100 million by the time that it all closed. And so I'm telling you, don't let anybody steal your dreams. Your hopes and dreams are like a super magnet that draw you into the future, and it pulls you through all the bad times. So keep those hopes and dreams, and don't give up on them. If you're sold that what you're doing is good, you keep doing it. Don't let some idiot talk you out of it.
I love it. I love how you inspire so many, especially reading it in the book as well, it helped me reflect. Like, who did I listen to? Why am I listening to that person? Have they been successful?
Yep.
Why am I listening to their words? It's like talking to, a doctor that tells you not to smoke, but you see him in the back and he's smoking, a whole pack of cigarettes in the back, or, getting divorced, getting marriage advice from somebody that's been divorced 5 times. It's you gotta pick who you're gonna listen to, right?
Good point, Cindy. Yeah, don't listen to the gurus. Don't listen to gurus. Listen to gurus, the people who have done it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you said something powerful in the book that says every time you see something new, you hear something new, you read something new, you meet a new person, your mind is stretched, and there is no way for it to go back.
No,
That was powerful.
you can't unhear, unsee, unread, unmeet somebody. Whatever you're hearing right now, you will probably be with you forever. And some concepts we'll cover in a few minutes here if you've got time. It will change their life. One concept could make them millions and millions of dollars, because you're going to learn how to turn a piggy bank into a really biggie bank. You can go with almost nothing, turn that piggy bank into an enormous biggie bank, not just for you, but all the people around you too.
Take us into that. Go ahead and walk us through it. I think that everybody's waiting to hear.
Well, just like that first store we started, I also decided not only was I going to start a bookstore, but I was only going to hire abused women. I was only going to hire women who had been married and abused, or are still married and abused. And so because I was married to my mother was someone like that. So I had a real mission to help women out of that situation, because I knew what my mom went through. So it was a whole philosophy, So what I did was I imagined having a bookstore like in every city and stuff, right, in the United States, and having all these people run these businesses. And it wouldn't cost them any money. I'd go open the store, they could run it. And then later, I think all of them eventually bought those stores. I gave them the opportunity to buy the store that they were in, and they did it, and they had children and grandchildren and raised their families and all made a great living. So you can turn nothing into something. When you're poor, you learn to do so much with so little. You can do anything with almost nothing. That's what I'm saying. You can turn a piggy bank into a biggie bank. You just need some people around you like Cindy to help support you. That's all.
Aw. and the Aucoins and so many others that are just have a heart of gold to help. And I want to talk about the life's merry-go-round that you mentioned in legacy number 5. Can we skip to that for a second, or do you have anything to close us with what you were just talking about?
Well, we can go to the merry-go-round. Let's go to the merry-go-round.
That's my favorite. I'm a little biased to it.
It's one of my favorites too, Cindy.
It is. The merry-go-round is good. Matter of fact, that's in the 7 cycles of wealth. The 7 cycles of wealth is how you gather wealth, you grow the wealth, you invest the wealth, you protect the wealth, you enjoy the wealth, then you transfer the wealth, and you repeat and teach. But inside of that is the merry-go-round. When you're born, your mom and dad have this life's merry-go-round, and you're on it, and they're pushing it. They're getting off every day and pushing it. They're paying for your lights, your water, your food, your diapers, your school. They're paying for everything. And then when you leave home, you get your own life's merry-go-round, and you've got to decide what you're going to put. And I know everybody knows what a merry-go-round is. You go to a park. Have you ever done that, Cindy? And you saw a merry-go-round, and you went over and started pushing and jumped on and went, wee, and breezes in your face, and you're going, oh, this is great. And then it slows down, and you go, wee, and some other kids see you, and they come jump on, and you go, wee. And then more kids. Pretty soon it's so heavy, you can't no longer get on the merry-go-round. All you're doing is pushing. And so life's merry-go-round is that way. When you leave home, most people these days, now back then it wasn't like this, but these days they get a cell phone. So now they got to pay for the cell phone. And then they put all these apps on their cell phone. And then they got internet connection to pay for. So it's getting a little heavier, you know. And then they go, well, I need a little car. So now they put a little car on there. And now you got the car, you got the payments, you got the tires, you got the gas, you got the repairs, you got the insurance. And now you got to run more and more around it and push. It's harder and harder. Then, you know, you meet this little girlfriend in the mall that wants to have your children. And then she comes on board, and now you got a date. You got to dress up a little and take her out to dinner. you know,
that merry-go-round is very heavy at that point.
It's getting heavier all the time. It's getting heavier. You know, and you may have bought a motorcycle or something else to put on there yourself, or a jet ski or whatever. But everything you put on that merry-go-round is either saving you or enslaving you. Because if you had to pay, you could be paying for lights, water, gas, sewage, internet connections, phone connections, all that stuff all your life. So already you're enslaved to have to work every day until the day you die. And then, you know, you guys get married, and now, you know, that little apartment's not big enough because you didn't have enough money for birth control. So you'll have a baby down. And now you got diapers, and you got playpens, and what do you call it? Something to put in the car seats and all.
Yeah.
And just the diapers alone, I mean, will break the bank. And then you got baby wipes.
In the book, you talk about, you get the dog, then you got the dog crate, you got the dog food, you got the dog shots, you got, you know, it's, you keep adding to the wheel.
You really read that chapter. Just think about everything you putting on there is enslaving you. It means you got to keep paying and keep paying. There's not one asset on there. Maybe she's an asset, you're an asset, but if one of y'all asset don't work, your asset's broke, because all that bill is still coming. So we decided when we got married, we would put nothing on that merry-go-round unless another asset was paying for it. We had to have something else paying for that thing. And so we've always stuck with that. There's real joy in underspending your income. You know, poor people, they go to work, they pay their bills, then they try to save what's left. Well, there's nothing left. We've always saved and then spent, but then the savings kept building. And I could go over that for months to tell you. But it's so simple to get rich. It is extremely simple to get rich. All you have to do is understand. Does that help with the merry-go-round?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, that merry-go, if you don't do that merry-go-round right, you'll have a real tough time ever saving money. You got to be very careful what you put on that merry-go-round. Some people get big boats. They're going to pay on it for 5 or 10 years. Then they go get an RV, and they'll pay for that for about 15 or 20 years, and they hardly ever use it. So it's not just the price on the tag of the thing. It's the price. It's the price that's not on a tag. You got to have insurance, storage. It's like a Rockweiler that doesn't bite. It will bite you in the ass real fast. You got to be very careful what you put on your merry-go-round.
And, you know, it brought me, when I was reading the chapter twice, it brought me to the point of being intentional, but a lot of people emotionally buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the moment. And they
Yeah.
add to the merry-go-round without thinking it through thoroughly. Meaning what we just talked about, what comes along with that thing I'm buying in the moment. That cell phone, it's going to get old. I'm going to want an upgrade. They get you lured into to do the upgrade. I'm going to need a case, and I'm going to need, you know, this and that for it. And we always want the best of something without thinking, is it in balancing my merry-go-round? And I'm a visual person. So I literally sat and drew out my merry-go-round, and
Wow.
I started putting everything on there that I currently have. And unless you put it in front of you like a vision board and you see what your merry-go-round looks like, it won't make sense, because some of us tend to ignore what's on our merry-go-round because we know it's lopsided.
Yeah.
But unless we sit there and we really are intentional about adding and subtracting from it to balance it out, like you said, adding an asset, give and take, we're never going to get wealthy. We're never
Yeah.
going to get ahead in life.
And there's images in the book too about the merry-go-round. They can actually see a merry-go-round loaded with all, and that merry-go-round turns into a scary go-round real quick.
Mm.
You don't want a scary go-round, and even if you have one now, you can start getting it paid off if you start, taking money out. Always pay yourself first. I don't care what it is, 1%, 2%, or 3% of your money. Pay yourself first to get all that stuff paid off, and then you could have a chance to become wealthy. Okay.
Got it. So what would be your biggest advice to somebody that has, like myself, had a overloaded merry-go-round, and we are going to slowly start being intentional about paying ourselves first, but then offloading the merry-go-round and instilling this concept? What would you say to do first?
Well, if you can't control your emotional stuff, you can't control your money either. You got to be able to control your money. I would say if you're going to buy something, leave it in the store for a day or two. Go home and think about it. It's better to have impulse savings than impulse spending. So, like when if I'm going to go buy something, which I very rarely ever do anymore, because we got enough money to go buy anything. Matter of fact, the day I knew I was rich is I wanted to buy this TV. It was $5,000, I think, when it first came out. And I said, I'm not doing this. And I came home and said, Theresa, you don't believe this TV. You watch 7 channels at a time.
Like, who could do that?
And I already have dyslexia. You can imagine what my eyes would do with 7 channels at a time. And she looked at me and said, Frank, if you want it, go buy it. I said, what are you talking about? She says, Frank, there is nothing at that mall that you cannot go and pay cash for. I knew right then, and we waited and to do that. I ended up getting that thing almost at half price, had it delivered, taxes, insurance, set up, and everything else. And that's another story. But my suggestion to what you said is, if you can't control your emotions, you can't control anything. So walk away from it and go, do I really need another pair of shoes? I think Theresa has probably 20 or 30 pair in there. And from when she was a teenager, I mean, it's crazy. But just ask it. Huh?
Not quite.
Whatever it is. I mean, just walk away for a day and do we really need this? And is it going to enslave us or save us?
That's powerful. Enslave us or save us. I love it.
Yeah.
It's super important to have emotional intelligence when you're navigating through wealth, wealth creation, because like you said, 70% of Americans are emotionally driven. First and foremost, impulse, right? We just buy on impulse. It feels good. It makes us feel good. That's why we eat certain stuff, right? That's why we buy certain stuff. It makes us feel good to, mask anything else that's going on.
I know that chapter is really important to you, but I'm going to suggest to you that chapter or legacy lesson 8 and 9 are so important.
But before you get off of that, Frank, you need to mention credit cards. We were just at the bank today talking to the bank president about some things we're doing and putting our kids on some of our accounts, preparing for the future. And the comment was that the credit people that are using credit cards, I mean, it's hard to get rid of the credit cards. It's hard to pay them off. If you spend $10 on a glass of whatever, you're going to end up spending 10 times that over time for it. If you leave it on a credit card with 25% or whatever it is.
The interest rate is 25 to 35% on a credit card.
Those are so dangerous.
If you put $2,000 on a credit card, it'll take you 42 years to pay that off if you pay minimum payments.
Just not smart. The only reason we have credit cards is to get the points. We pay them off every month. And we've never had to make a regular payment on a credit card. We've always paid them off at the end of the month.
Yeah, we've never used a debit card. I've never been to an ATM machine. None of that. So I'm just saying, you've got to control your emotions, and and very few people do. But that merry-go-round gets real heavy. Before we get done, and I'm going to make sure that I mention this, okay? If people would realize, and this is it, and I think it's chapter 9, everything you want in life and need in life is going to come from another person. Your very life came from two people. Your very first meal came from a person. Your very first bath came from another person. Your very first bed came from another person. Your very first outfit came from another person. Your house will come from another person. Your car will come from another person. Your water, your lights, your insurance, everything, toilet paper comes from other people. You have to learn how to build lifelong friends and become their trusted advisor. And 8 and 9 teaches you how to meet a total stranger, turn them into a lifelong friend, and how to become their trusted advisor. That, along with the merry-go-round and all the other stuff, learning about the two economies. You know, there's the buyer's economy and the supplier's economy. Learning, don't do what the masses do. Just supply what the masses buy. We could be here all night on just one chapter, but we've hit the highlights. When I was born, I think I won the friend lottery. I have been able to make lifelong friends all my life. And finally, we learned how to teach people how to do that because we read a book called The Like Switch, Like, Like Switch, by Jack Schaefer. He finally gave me the tools to put it in words, but I don't want to do it here. I want people to go read that section of how to meet a total stranger, turn him into a lifelong friend. And then the next chapter is called The Magical 5 Hinges. And that will turn your entire life around.
Getting into the 5 hinges.
The 5 hinges. Go ahead.
You quote, I quote you. You said about 80 to 85% of your entire success in life will be due to using the 5 hinges. The rest of it will be due to how you prepare, how you study, how you work on yourself, your skills, how you dress, and if you have good mentors.
There you go.
Talk a little bit about the 5 hinges if you can. I know there's so much to cover. I wish we had so much more time, but the book has it all.
I'd really rather than read it. So let's talk about something else. Go read chapter 8 and 9, because if you don't do anything else, and listen, it's not enough for you to learn this. It's something you have to have your children read or listen to on Audible at an early age, because they may not know what they're listening to now, but later they will. I meet people every day that I met 20 years ago or 30 years ago that still have paper that I drew all these pictures and stuff on. And they go, Frank, this has changed my whole life.
That's a fact.
I mean, people who are multi-millionaires now because of it.
Cindy, he gets calls and people drop by weekly, if not daily, that will bring up something, one of these concepts that are in the book or some that are not, that he taught them decades ago.
15 years ago, 20 years ago.
He'll give, and they'll share the success from that learning, bringing them forward to today. I mean, that's one reason I was just dying for Frank to write the book, because you can't, first of all, he can't sit down with one person or have one audience and teach it all in one sitting. So we needed it in a book. So, and
we've had since the fall from the roof, and I really learned, it's taken 80 years to put this book together. You can take 80 minutes and do it and just read it. And like you said to me earlier on the phone, and I appreciate that discussion, every time you read it, something new pops up to you, a new idea, a new concept, a new principle. So, yeah, remember, there's 8 billion people on Earth. And here's an interesting fact you may not know. I was studying it yesterday. They think that there's 8 billion people now. They think there's approximately been like 200 billion people that's ever lived on Earth. Okay? 200 billion. Here's 2 interesting facts. Only 4,000 of them have ever climbed Mount Everest.
Wow.
And listen, 10% were women. But they had to practice for years and train for years to climb that mountain. But here's another fact. Every day in America, every single day in America, 1,700 people, 1,700 people become millionaires in this country.
Mm.
Now, that's 520,500 people a year become millionaires in this country. And every one of them were born naked, broken, ignorant. And just like those mountain climbers, they had to learn how to do it and practice how to do it. Bill Gates knew nothing about computers when he was born because they weren't around. Steve Jobs, they weren't around when he was born. Elon Musk, none of the stuff he's invented was around. He had to learn what to do. But if you can learn to tie your shoes or ride a bike or drive a car, you can learn how to become wealthy. I know so many rich people that are just dumb as hell, but they learn their trade so well and their skills so well that they can supply a product or service to a large number of people and they get wealthy. So I'm just telling you, there are people a lot less better looking than you, they're less educated than you, that are running multi-million-dollar businesses because they learned a skill or a talent and they supplied a product or service or opportunity to a large number of people. Everyone out there has problems. 8 billion people have problems. And everyone on earth earns money doing one thing. An architect, a plumber, a ditch digger, a secretary, a teacher, an astronaut. We all earn money doing exactly the same thing. You earn money doing exactly what I do. No one will give you their money until you solve their problem. If you don't solve another person's problem, no one's going to open their wallet and give you money. So if you think your skill or talent can help a person solve a problem, you just go solve the problem and they'll give you the money. But if you don't solve somebody's problem, so never run from problems. Run to problems in a field or talent that you have that you can help them solve a problem. And you'll make all the money you would ever want to make in your life. We've got 79 million baby boomers retiring. And people my age, most people my age, 80, they can't cut their grass. They can't wash their car. They can't take their garbage out. Some of them can't even get out of bed. If all you did was help old people do stuff. I had a guy today go, we got all these homes. I need all his gutters cleaned. He's going to go and clean all my gutters. He's solving a problem. I will happily pay my money doing that. I will go to work. Well, I won't. One of my assets will go to work to pay that. So the only way to make money is to solve someone's problem. Is to ask yourself, what problem do I know how to solve and who can I go solve it for? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It is, the 3 things I take away: be intentional, just do it, start, solve the problem, and start it. From my journey, 5 years ago is when I actually started my entrepreneurial journey. I didn't know what I was doing. I came from a 9-to-5 police background. But I had to just start. I had to jump in and do it.
Yeah.
And in being intentional with writing it down. What did I want? Why do I want it? I was not a public speaker. You would not see me on a podcast. You would not see me on stage. None of that. I was very shy and introverted. But because I placed myself around the right mentors, around the people that love me, had a circle that supported me, and had like-minded goals, I was able to come out of my shell quickly. And here I am, enjoying life on my terms with what I want to be and still learning. Never stop learning. I'm sure you too. You just said you were reading the newspaper the other day, articles. You still
Every
learn
day.
every day. You
I
can't
study
stop
about 6
learning.
hours a day.
Wow. Wow. And if we could just mention a little bit about, you've helped over how many people with your network marketing business? I know you both have successfully grown businesses, helped a lot of people. But it's amazing to me because I was new to network marketing and still learning and growing in that field.
Uh-huh.
Tell us a little bit about that journey, and what you've done there.
Well, right now we have currently what, about 80,000 associates.
I'd have to go look it up. It's at least that many.
We have about 80,000, excuse me, associates, and we just wanted to take them along with us. So we taught them all these principles. Going up, that all you gotta do is solve somebody's problem, and you don't listen. You don't need to have a business card. If you want to start your business, just go find one person that you can solve a problem for, that you know how to solve their problem, and do that, and then go find another one. And you don't even need a business card. Don't think you got to go get a desk and a chair and you got to study all this crap. There's hundreds of single parents out there that need their kids taken care of, and if you can take care of your kids, they'll pay you $30 or $40 a day. $50 a day per child, or even more than that. They'll pay you $100 a day. Just solve a problem for somebody. You do not need money. No business we ever started did we have to come up with very much money at all. We started with money in our piggy bank. In every business. I've never written a business plan ever in my life.
And Cindy, the network marketing industry is usually pretty easy to get into. And it is something that we've always done. We started in a nutrition company, and then we went to TPN, and then to Legal Shield, which we're still a part of. And that's been a wonderful part of our life, not just financially.
It's brought in millions and millions of dollars.
But it's also been where we met the relationships, Elizabeth Gardner is one of my best friends, my best friend. And, it's more than the money. It's like Frank says, it's more than the money. But to answer your question about the network marketing, it's an industry anybody can get into. And do it along with whatever else they're doing. We've never stopped doing our traditional businesses for the network marketing.
It's always been a side hustle.
It's always been, but we have spent a lot of time with it. We have definitely put a lot of time and energy into it, it's paid off big time. But it's never been our only thing. So, but if we wanted it to be, we could make it our only thing. But we've had other things going on. But a lot of people do make it their single endeavor, and that's great. So I think it's one of the most wonderful businesses on the planet, because you can't do it part-time, or you can go full-time with it.
You're running two races in life. You run out every day. You run in a sprint and a marathon. You sprint out every day and make enough money to pay for your lifestyle.
Yeah.
But then you need to run a marathon where you're doing something else, where you're not spending the money that you earn. You're sticking it back and putting it in assets. If you will take the money you earn from your side hustle, you read the story of Gladys Jones in the book. This was a lady that never made more than the minimum wage in her whole life. And I mean minimum wage, 30 cents an hour, 40 cents an hour. And she was a friend of mine, and I knew her. And that woman never cashed a paycheck, ever. She and her husband lived off her income for his income for 40 something years. And she stacked it. And it's probably in the early 60s, I met her. She had $1.8 million. Now that would be like you having 20 or 30 million now.
Today, probably.
And all she did, if you have a husband and a wife, or a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and y'all can live on one income for even 48 months, because if you're making $75,000 a year, she's making maybe 80, or maybe she's making $40,000 a year. Who cares? Save one of them, and in 4 years you'll do what most people don't do in 40 years, and it'll give you the start in your life. It's all in that book.
I cannot tell you what a nugget you just gave everybody.
We've had so many people do that. I mean, we've had so many people, even if you will say, I'll take 25% of my income, 25% of her income, and we're going to live on 75% of each income. Put 25% away. That's 50%. I mean, you'll be so rich in 48 months, 60 months, you won't even believe it. Put it in a money market, make money while you're sleeping. Just go set up a money market account.
This has been an amazing conversation, by the way, but you cannot summarize everything in an hour. You have to go buy 10 Legacy legacy lessons. And tell us where we can get the book, where everybody can order the book.
FrankAucoin.com.
Go to frankacoin.com, and it's on Audible, it's on Kindle, and it's also on Amazon, and it is on our bookstore on our website. So.
And buy some for your friends.
Yeah.
I mean, that way everybody around you is trying to support everybody else.
Yeah.
Get them for your friends and family and your kids.
And for our listeners, I am giving away 5 books if you go and subscribe at our YouTube channel and you watch this, you comment and you share. I'm going to handpick 5 people that I'm going to mail out the books to. And Mr. and Mrs. Aucoin have a special book, signed book that they wanted to gift somebody that
Well,
wins a raffle.
You give it away? You give it away, and we'll sign it, and we'll mail it directly to them. And then if they want to get on the phone with us for a few minutes, we'll get on the phone with them for a few minutes.
Wow. That is amazing. And you guys are seeing Mr. and Mrs. Aucoin, who are multi-millionaires who have had so much success, but remain so humble. They wanted to help me. They wanted to embrace my podcast and my journey. They do this for a lot of people, and they never stop giving back. And so one of the things that I want to say is always remain humble through your success. Always give back and help others, and stay true to your vision and your mission, and everything else will align. Get the book, read it. Any closing comments from either one of you?
I'll start. I am so proud of you, Cindy, for what you're doing and the amount of people that you are touching, and then all the ripple effect that they will touch people also. So you keep doing what you're doing and keep homing those skills. Okay.
Thank you.
And whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar too, because thank you for having us on. I know that your whole goal in life is to help people, and you are certainly doing it with all these wonderful trainings and podcasts that you're providing for everybody, Cindy. So thank you for letting us be a part of one of your podcasts.
And I would love to hear people's story. Once they learn the legacy lessons, I'd love to hear some of their stories, and they can share them with you, and you can share them with us or whatever.
Absolutely.
But they can always go on Amazon and put a comment up about the book or something like that.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead and you can comment on YouTube, or you can go and email me at askcindysoto@gmail.com. That's where you can put your questions, your comments. That we will go live tomorrow and announce the winner of the book that will be signed. And so we'll be answering some questions as well. We have 2 minutes, but I want Mrs. Aucoin just to share a little bit. And hopefully we can have her on a future podcast about her health and wellness journey, because it has changed my life and my journey in my health journey. And so can you share a little bit about what you do and how you help people in their health journees? Because you changed my life.
Oh, Cindy, I'm so glad. Well, not everybody listens, but you did.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I was being silly.
I gotta say that talking to my wife is like getting a verbal massage. She just makes me feel good all over.
She does that to a lot of people.
Cindy, that is my passion. It is not something it's not a big income stream or anything. It is, my passion is to help people wake up to what it really takes for them to be healthy, full of vitality, not have a chronic disease. I mean, as you know, in this country, it's worse every year. I think our life expectancy keeps going down, not up. But we keep taking more prescriptions than any other country and things like that. So I'm very passionate about people really seeing what they can do, because it's really simple. And the problem is that it's not simple, or it's not, I should say it's not clear, because we're so inundated with the fast food and the commercials and the MD stuff everywhere.
Pharmaceuticals.
So my journey truly started, very briefly, I'll tell you, with my sister, Diana. She's 3 years younger, and she had in the year 2000 was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. She was in terrible pain, and she was her prognosis was to get into a wheelchair. They told her to fix her house up for a wheelchair, and that just wasn't acceptable. Long story made short, that's when I got really serious about learning about true health. We ended up at a facility in Texas that unfortunately is no longer there, but we followed a detox program. I went through it with her, and we just learned about how to get healthy and how to get rid of inflammation. And she did it. And, in a few months, she was remarkably better. In a year later, she could beat me on the tennis court.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And you went on a journey of nothing but studying and learning.
Yeah. And I got so passionate. I took a 2-year study for becoming certified as a nutritional consultant. And it validated a lot of what I had learned, but I learned a whole lot of new things as well. And you can't see my office, but we're surrounded by books, just, and 99, almost all of them are on some aspect of health and wellness. So I'm very passionate about helping people in their journey to allow their bodies, which your body is remarkable. This human body, it is remarkable. The more I learn about it, the more amazed I am that this body, no matter, even if it's you have something bad going on, you can turn it around. I have seen a friend of mine went from legally blind to seeing and having better vision than me.
And driving a car.
Yeah. I have seen my sister go from, being practically crippled to being full of vitality. Nobody can ever believe she has ever had that diagnosis. And here she is, she's almost catching up with me. She's 60. She'll be catching up with 68 or so. Yeah. So, yeah. So I've just seen so many before and after stories that's inspiring to me. I want everybody to know what they need to know. So,
and you just said legally blind, which yesterday I was at a table at a restaurant with my associates and some friends who 4 of them were blind. And my associate just went blind not less than a year ago. All of a sudden she lost her sight. She was seeing one moment. Could you imagine seeing one moment and 5 minutes later, your lights are out? No. And she's now learning and navigating that whole life. But we had this similar discussion about just the healthcare system and what they want to do and exploratory stuff and, learning their world. And so I think I would be honored if you would come back at another time and we have a full discussion on this and just really change lives with just your mindset. Your mindset changes a lot, and how you can change. You make a decision. You make the decision to either eat healthy, unhealthy, what to eat, what not to eat. But in the end, you're just helping yourself in the longevity of your life. Look at Mrs. Aucoin. Look at how hot she looks. And you haven't seen her standing up.
Yeah, you ought to see that. I think we're gonna go eat the hot tub now.
How can we, if people have questions or they want to reach out to you, what is your website that they can check out, Mrs. Aucoin?
It is yourhealthdefender.com. Yourhealthdefender.com.
You'll love it.
And you can sign up for the newsletter and everything there. So.
Oh, awesome. Okay. And we'll also have that in the notes when we process the stream. So everybody will be able to get the book and contact Mrs. Aucoin at the website, get all the information. Thank you so much, both of you, for being on today and taking your precious time out to talk with us and just help people. You guys have hearts of gold, and I want to give back someday as much as you're giving back to everybody, everything.
You already have, and we appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
I'm a busy guy. I got to go now.
Okay. All right. I got it.
Okay.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Love you guys. Bye.